Where do you stand on bowl season? Bowl games? Do you get excited for them? Do you watch them?
Yes and no. I kind of leading up to signing day, I record them all, on YouTube TV because I just don't have time to watch them. But these next few days, I'll watch a bunch of them. I'm kind of I wish they would do it different. I love bowls. I love bowl season. I just don't love how they do it. I feel like we get a lot of the same kind of matchups every year uh, because I don't love the deep tie-ins. So every year we're getting some ACC SEC matchup, and it's like SEC 3 versus ACC 5, and then we wonder why it's a blowout every year. And so I don't love the matchups, but I'm a big proponent of bowl season, Mark. You know that I have said the right way to do expanding the playoffs is to do it through the bowl season, to do it through the bowls, get back to the traditional, conference tie-ins with the bowls, let them play it out, and then pick your 2 or 4 from bowl season as opposed to a 12-team playoff. Because I love bowl season, and I think it's good for the players. I think it's good for team development. You get that extra 15, practice period. It's just odd to me that the company that airs most of the games is the one constantly talking about how they don't matter, which is odd to me, but whatever. They're going to do what they're going to do.
So, Brian, you are the perfect person to ask this question to because most of my guests obviously cover teams that play in conferences. So once Notre Dame's been removed from national championship contention, they're playing a strong schedule against name brand opponents. And now they play a bowl game against the South Carolina team in the Gator Bowl. So how much will you weight this? How much, whether that's intellectually or emotionally, will you be invested in this game versus the USC game, the North Carolina game, the Clemson game, et cetera?
I think bowl games can sometimes be overstated in importance in looking at projecting a team for next year. That's the mistake I think people make. Because a team looked good in this bowl game, that means we're going to rank them high next year for whatever reason. I think that's a bad way to look at bowl games. I think bowl games are very important, Mark. And this game for Notre Dame is very important. But the importance comes from other things. I'm a big believer in momentum. I believe momentum comes from confidence. I think confidence breeds a high level of execution. That high level of execution leads to momentum. That's what momentum is to me. And I think bowl games can do a lot for that. And we've seen this with Notre Dame. I mean, you look at 2014, Notre Dame loses, I think, their last 4 regular season games. They climbed up all the way to number 5 at one point in time when they went and played Florida State. Went out and beat Navy the next week. They're 7-1. They took the defending champs down to the wire and all, and then just utter collapse down the stretch. Lost to Northwestern at home, lost to Louisville, lost to Arizona State, lost at the end of the year to USC. And USC beat them, I think, 49-14. It could have been worse. Steve Sarkisian called off the dogs in that game. I mean, they went on like a 19-play drive that took like 10 minutes off the clock. He could have scored 70 if he wanted to in that game. And that team had no momentum. And then they go into the bowl game. They make some personnel changes. They do things differently. And they go out and beat, a mediocre LSU team. But it wasn't beating LSU per se that did it. It was the fact that nobody thought they could win that game. They went out, they changed their style. They went to be more of a physical power running team. They put Malik Zaire in a quarterback. They put Mike McGlinchey in an offensive line. They made some changes, and they went out and won that game. So it wasn't the taste of the collapse in November that they had in their mouths. It was, look what we can do when we play our game, and they were able to build on that. And then a year later, they go 10-3. They are in the top 4 of the college football playoff rankings in November. And then what happens? They lose 3 of their last 4 games. Or no, excuse me, 2 of their last 3 games, right? And then they lost to because they were in 2015 they were lost to Clemson, and then they lost to Stanford down the stretch, and then they lost to Ohio State in the bowl game. And all of a sudden you go into the offseason kind of not feeling great about yourselves. Way better team, way better season, but because you lost your last 2 games, you just as a team didn't have that same momentum. And I think those are things that I believe can impact the football team. Is from that standpoint, it doesn't mean that we're going to go out and because if Notre Dame beat South Carolina, because they beat them and the offense does this and the defense does this, that means Notre Dame should be ranked over here next year. I don't think that has anything to do with it. But as far as team building and getting young players the opportunity, kind of getting a glimpse of Michael Mayer's not going to be here, right? He's not playing in the game. So this is your first taste of, what your tight end group is going to look like to a degree. And I think those things matter much more so than view how I'm going to view next year's team based on the bowl result. It's more of, are you doing things to give your team some momentum to build on going into the offseason?
So
I
that
hope that
said,
made
what
sense.
is important for you to see out of Notre Dame against South Carolina?
I want to see Tyler Buckner play well. I mean, I think this offense needs to get going. This offense, you know, I kind of look at it, Mark, and it's about, I want to see this offense start to look like it needs to. Look, I understand, agree to disagree, but I understand why they did what they did. 13 personnel, run the ball all the time. They were just trying to get out of the season with as many wins as possible, and they felt that they could build around the line and the tight end. I want to see them push the ball down the field more. I want to see them get the ball to the perimeter more. I want to see them be a team that can rip off big plays and be a bit more explosive offensively. I know they're not going to all of a sudden look like 2019 LSU in the bowl game, but I at least want to see the starting foundation of that. I think that's the thing holding this team back. I was disappointed in the season on defense, but it's compared to what they have been. It was still a pretty good defense, but just compared to what they have been and what they could be, my expectations are it's still the offense holding this program back. And I want to start to see this team take some of those strides. I want to see Coach Reese start to take some of those strides and go into next season really feeling good about what this football team is going to be.